this is Craig Wescoe with s2p.org, and I'm joined by Pastor Robert Munro of the St. Francis of Assisi Church in upstate New York. Is that right? And we're at the 48-hour Roses Law Pig Vigil, and we just got finished with it. We were fighting for animal liberation, and there were some arrests, but this is the kind of thing that needs to happen. And in my mind, this is the character of Jesus. What's your opinion on what Christians should do as far as animals are concerned?
You know, Jesus Christ is quoted very few times. But one of the things that the most kindest, wonderful human being that ever walked the face of the earth said, when this has been repeated many times, it's very simple. What you do unto the least, you do unto me. So when you harm the least of her, she's a bunny rabbit, squirrel, chipmunk, a bear, a deer, any sentient being, you're actually harming Jesus Christ and God. Yeah. And I think one of the recent things that I've read, and I've been a proponent of, the worst thing that will happen is if you follow the path of many spiritual people such as Craig, many others, is that the worst thing that would happen is you would be living within God's heaven and earth. And if that's the worst, and let's say we're wrong, let's say that connection that I feel, that Craig feels, that so many others breaking of the spirit. And actually say that you never get that. Then the worst thing that will happen is we'd face God one day and be able to say, I tried. I stopped giving in. I realized. And if you can't say that, what are you going to say to God?
Yeah, and there's the corollary of that, where Jesus says, whoever doesn't do for the least of these doesn't do for me. So I think of the Good Samaritan story, where people just walk by and don't help the person in need. So when it comes to animals as the least of these, if we're not helping the animals that are in need, the animals in slaughterhouses, the animals being killed for their fur, all kinds of other horrible things that we do to animals, we're neglecting that person or that creature in need.
I think, Craig, you're exactly right. You're saying exactly what needs to happen in the movement today, which is we need to be more than just vegan. We need to become vegan animal rights activists. Okay? There's 600 million vegans and vegetarians in the world today, yet less than 1% are actually activists. That's 6 million. Okay? We need to grow the activist movement exponentially, or else, just like water will never boil at 200 degrees, the movement will never succeed until we have an unlimited number of animal rights activists like Craig. We're committed and do everything we can on behalf of our tribe.
And my biggest inspiration is, of course, Jesus, as you mentioned, where I see him liberating the animals in the temple court, where it's not just about the money changers. A lot of people make it about the money changers, but it's mentioned in all 4 Gospels, and money changers only mentioned in 3 of the 4 Gospels. So in the one, I believe it's the Gospel of John, it's mentioned that he overturns the tables and frees all the animals and runs out everybody that's selling these animals to be slaughtered for profit. And he says, this is supposed to be a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves. You've made this place a marketplace. So I think of how we're treating animals, how they're just commodities we sold on the market. And we don't even see them as sentient creatures created from the breath of life, the breath of God that's breathed into them. And so when you think about that, where the animals are just treated as commodities, what do you think God thinks about that?
I think you're exactly right. Jesus Christ was not crucified for knocking over the money changers' tables. He was crucified for disrupting. the culture, which was the sale of animals, which was supporting a priest's livelihood, and the killing of animals, which supported the livelihood of eating animals. And so Jesus Christ was disrupting that right at Passover. And who's the first animal rights activist who was killed for the cause? You wouldn't be in those 2,000 years ago. You wouldn't be crucified for knocking over a table. Well, if that was the case, no one would be alive today. All right? He was crucified because he made a whip of cords and he chased all the poor animals who were about to be sacrificed out of the temple. And I understand that the sacrifices were going on in 3 shifts. There were so many, and they had rivers of blood pouring out of the temple. And that this den of thieves, that isn't what Jesus Christ called them. I think you have to look up the definition of thieves. You may find it a whole different meaning, and then you'll understand why Jesus Christ was crucified.
And he also says you can't worship both God and material wealth, money. And so I think of the way animals are treated, and they're treated this way for profit. And so you can't worship a God of love, a God of mercy, a God of gentleness and compassion, and also worship money and treating everyone and everything as a commodity to gain power and wealth. And he made it very clear. He said, very truly, I tell you, you cannot serve both masters. And so when we think of our own lifestyles and our own diets and the types of things we consume and who suffers as a result of that, I think we really have to make that connection and take that stand like Jesus did of not only disrupting, but also teaching and living by example.
And if by chance, what Craig knows to be true, what I know to be true, is that by elimination of animals from our diet, from our wardrobe, from our using them, opens our soul to the Lord. And we have a connection directed to God that we relate to due to our veganism. I was a good man. I was a preacher, but I never had the connection that I have now that I've eliminated animals from my diet. And I've gotten that report from many, many, many religious people, many clergy members, many just people that are regular Christians, God-fearing people that have gone vegan that have now reported. They have a connection to God that they never had before. That, in and of itself, that's available to you. When you follow God in the least degree, then we must go vegan to, if anything else, try what we're talking about. No one gets hurt, and you get to have a direct connection to God. I mean, how can you say no to that if you're Christian?
Excellent points. So you give a sermon every Sunday, and there's a message in it that is not only God focused, but is also focused on care for God's creatures. And where can people find your message?
On Facebook, we broadcast live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. On Facebook, you can find it at the St. Francis of Assisi Parish of the Humanitarian Church, or on my page with Robert Munro. And past services are all archived on those pages as well. And a YouTube channel, which is Pastor Rob Munro on YouTube. And I know that there's an Instagram page, but I don't know the other.
It's okay. So would you mind if we say a short prayer together for the animals? Okay, maybe I'll start, then you can add. Lord, thank you for this time together to meet with our brother Robert Munro, that we can talk about the care for all your creatures that are forgotten, the least of these. And I ask that you bring about your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, as you promised. And that prophecy in Isaiah 11 of all the animals lying down in safety, and Hosea chapter 2 of bow and sword being banished from this earth, that these prophecies come to fruition, and that there will be no more tear and no more death and no more killing, and that the world is the way that you should make it, that you designed it to be, that will come about. I pray these things in Jesus' name.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Father, Son, Spirit.
Well, thank you for joining me, Robert.
Right, thank you for all the animals. Being out here, being a street activist is not easy. And I applaud you dedication. I really do. Thank
I appreciate your dedication to delivering a sermon each Sunday and all the other things that you do.
you for speaking.
Yeah, all for God's glory. Amen.